This is the Week 9 USFL Community Recap Show. I have Mike and Jake with me this week. Guys, how we doing?
I'm good.
Doing good.
Very good, very good. All right, so Week 9, it was crazy. Starting in the north, we had, Jake, I know you have some words when it comes to the Panthers, losing to the Maulers 19-7. Let's start off with that game now. What do you got?
Yeah, well, happily to report that I only got to witness and suffer through the first half. I had to leave at halftime. Thankfully, it was a bit of a mercy killing there that I got to go away for my niece's recital. So, but first half, ooh, that was brutal. And looking at the recap, not any better in the second half. Panthers defense has played great. They've always played great the entire year, but as expected, the offense stuttered, and with the Maulers having as great of a defense as they have, they just ate. And what Josh Love had been able to avoid doing for the majority of the last three games, completely did a 180 and threw 4 interceptions. And I mean, only so much you can do when your offense can't move the ball, and defense did their job and only hold them to 1 touchdown, 4 field goals. But yeah, I mean, kind of after the first quarter, I knew what it was going to be. Not a whole lot good to say other than the defense.
Yeah, and watching it after 2-3 interceptions, why not pull Josh Love from the game? Like, what's going on?
Well, I mean, their backup right now is Lewerke, and he's been with the team for just under a month. So he hasn't had a whole lot of time to come in and be able to play and show any sort of efficiency. So kind of like the whole thing with the battle between Strong and Love, I think Nolan and maybe to extent Marty just wanted to go with the guy with the knowledge, with the experience in the offense. And got to keep Love because he's the only one that has any clue with how to run Marty's offense, though, which I've complained about on the podcast multiple times already in the last few weeks. Why get rid of Barrier then, especially at this time, if your only other dude is a guy that you only have one guy now with any experience, any knowledge of the offense? And what if he goes down, or what if he just plays like absolute shit?
Yeah.
Like he did, then we kind of hamstrung ourselves. They kind of hamstrung the team.
Yeah, and what about Reggie Corbin? Not playing. I feel like that had some sort of factor in the offense. Not having Reggie on the all-purpose. Gain to yards. Kickoff. In the backfield, things like that. I think that had a lot to do with it. Because Reggie is Reggie. He's always going to be that guy. But it just seemed like everything was stale. Every aspect of the offense was completely stale. But defensively, you can't complain by holding any team to 19 points in any professional league. And it's just it sucked to watch because, Josh Love is such a great guy. A lot of the Panthers guys are, and it was just hard to watch. But the Maulers defense was just, and they're just the best or one of the best in the USFL. And it's just, that they were able to put up the points that they did because scoring wise, Maulers, if they don't score early and often or whatever the case may be, it's hard for them to go ahead and, establish, a lead or regain a lead, throughout the game. So it was, they scored early and fast, and they had to, and the defense did their job. Mike, I'm sorry, I know you've been silent. My bad. What did you see when it came to that game?
Well, first of all, that first touchdown by the Maulers, I was like, is that even a touchdown? Because it almost looked like maybe it wasn't. And then, we started kicking field goals, and I was like, oh, crap, here we go. Another low-scoring game, probably barely going to pull it off or barely get beat. And, it's funny that, like, if you watch any of the press conferences or listen to them, Ray Horton, I think it was last week, basically was like, you do whatever to get the job done. It does stink when you can't put 6 on the board. And it's like, okay. And there was sometimes some of the drives where I was really questioning, like, okay, you're so close. Why don't you just go for it? And maybe that's just he doesn't have the confidence in his offense, but that's something you can fix. I liked the performance all around on the Mueller side of the ball. I thought overall it was really good. Could have been better. It wasn't the best, but it was good. And as far as Michigan goes, I think Jake really hit it on the head. Like you kind of hogtied yourself at quarterback. But honestly, I think Michigan's in a position where there's not much they can do. Your O line's not very. It's not the best. It's not almost not the worst. I would say. I think New Jersey's is a little worse if you ask me. So it's not the worst, but it's not the best. But that seems to be, as you look across the board, in my opinion, the O line seems to be the angle that everybody needs to take as far as the draft going into next year. So O-line play on both sides weren't very good. I think in the first half alone, there was like a total of 10 sacks between both teams in the game.
Yeah, it was up there. It was great.
It was up there.
It was just
pretty
ridiculous.
high between both teams.
Yeah.
And then just the weird, like Jake said, lopsided. Like 1 week, Love does really good. The next week, he's down in the dumpster, and you could see it for sure. I mean, like, okay, for example, the one, I don't know if you saw it or if it sticks out to you. The one interception from Josh that stuck out to me was Love doesn't, in my opinion, maybe it came out wrong or something, but in my opinion, he doesn't know how to throw a fade or, an over the shoulder fade, because he threw it up and it was in front of the receiver. It's supposed to be over the shoulder behind the receiver. And that was just weird to me, and one of the ones that stuck out to me. And then just overall, I think the Maulers could have done better, obviously. There were some spots where I think maybe they should have had a touchdown more or two, but went in, got the win. Kind of big, kind of not. I mean, not to throw shade, but it is Michigan.
Michigan offense is non-existent and hasn't been. I mean, and the Mother's defense is so good that you have any vulnerabilities, they're going to be able to exploit them. And I mean, Love does know how to drop some dimes. We've seen it several times, but it's either that or he just doesn't get the ball over the D line and gets the balls batted. All of his interceptions were tips and overthrows. None of the interceptions that he had on Saturday were at all the fault of the receivers, from at least certainly not the two that I saw in the first half. So, I mean, it was a all-around good game for the Maulers. They did what they needed to. Yeah, their offense was anemic, but that's been their identity for the entire year. I think partly that, as well as that the Maulers defense had been playing, there was no real reason to push and try to go for it when they had no real reason to. They were controlling the Panthers offense, and the Panthers defense were controlling their offense as well. So why risk it and then actually give the Panthers a good field position for once? Whereas on the other side, like the Maulers had great field position for the bulk of the day. Like I went through and went down the line for all of their starting field positions, and they only started inside or at the 20 once, and that was the first punt by the Panthers where Kramer's punt went into the end zone for a touchback. That was the only time that they started inside or at the 20, other than the very last play where they got to do victory formation after the Panthers failed fourth down attempt. That was the only other time that they were actually ever pinned deep. And then, like I said, they just had to kneel it once for the game. So that kind of speaks, to Mullins didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, and to touch base on the Josh Love situation too. If you're not comfortable in the pocket and if you don't have enough time to set your feet, whatever the case, or drop back, it's not going to be consistently enough to, get a rhythm, get a drive going, because you're so concerned about that Maulers defense coming at you. And, I feel, and like you mentioned too, the balls were tipped. at the line. There was just too much pressure on Josh Love to get a rhythm to get that offense going. You know, you had Reggie Corbin out. There was just too many factors for them to, you know, and even though they did lose 19-7, the opportunities were there, but they weren't ever put in a good position to succeed in that game. You know, so all around it was fun to watch if you know like defense, of course, because that's what the USFL is built on. You know, if you have a great defense, you're in every single game. But yeah, I mean, it was a great game overall. Not for Panthers fans, of course. Maulers fans, yes. But you want to go ahead and keep it rolling to the next one? What do we got for?
You know, I don't think there's a whole lot else to say about that game. Now, this game you guys can take. I did actually end up missing that game. I kind of, when I was able to get back into it, saw the score, wasn't really worth my time to tune in. So you guys can talk about that one.
Yeah, it was the Breakers over the Showboats, 31-3, and we can pretty much simplify this one, Mike. Basically, Memphis, they were on a sinking ship from right off you know, the start. It was not a good game. They did not look like the Memphis Showboats from weeks past. They were pressured. They were absolutely dismantled by the Breakers, both sides of the ball. You know, the Breakers, they showed up, they got the job done. The Showboats, they did not. You know, it was, you know, I don't know what else to say. It was just a mauling, you know, with that one, 31-3. It really was. A lot of people, I think they did turn it off, you know, as bad as the Showboats were playing. But, you know, we had that, 3-hour weather delay. And I thought at that point in time, the Memphis can go ahead and get it together. They were down 17-0 at that point, or 17-3, whatever the case may be. But thought they would have to be able to regroup, but they did not have it. I don't know if that shows vulnerability going into week 10, whatever the case may be. Do we see what everyone else saw, like in the beginning, and ranking the Memphis Showboats so low? Like, is this their identity now, or was it just a bad game? I don't know. Mike, what do you got?
I didn't see much of this game either. The weather delay kind of screwed it up, and it was funny that happened, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, it's gonna fail," and started downing the league and everything. But so the game itself, yeah, Memphis just never got into a groove. Whether or not the weather did play any kind of factor on that, who knows? And as far as next week, honestly, we don't know yet. But with Birmingham having the playoff spot locked in place, I wouldn't be surprised if, I'm not going to guarantee anything, but I wouldn't be surprised if Birmingham doesn't play their starters or plays them for one quarter. So we may see a Boats win next week. That's not a prediction or a spoiler. If that's what happens, I wouldn't be surprised. But you know, from what I remember or saw, you know, MBT doing MBT things. Remember somebody saying West Hills wasn't really a factor, I think, much.
Yeah, the entire offense wasn't what their identity was in this one all season long previous matchups, but it was mainly the Breakers defense. You know, they scored more points than the Memphis Showboats. You know, they had a pick 6. So, you know, the defense was the winners of this game. They looked like the Maulers. They looked like the defense of last season, you know, where they were just down and grungy and they weren't giving up a ton of yardage and things like that. But yeah, the Breakers offense just did not. I mean, they got the job done, of course, you know, 31 points, but a lot of it had to do with the defense setting them up, you know, smaller drives and things like that. So, but I mean, that's all we can really say on that game there. 31-3. It was all Breakers, you know. So we touched base on the Stallions. You know, they took care of business going into this one. It was 38-15. Did you guys get a chance to watch this one as well?
Yeah, I ended up watching most of it.
All right. So what did you see, Jake?
Well, I got right into when the Stallions finally turned things around, when they finally actually made their good drive that culminated in that Sternberger touchdown. Um, Magoo ended up, and of course Sternberger and the rest of their talented offense started clicking, and yeah, from there it was over for the Gamblers, and fortunately their magic has kind of petered out a little bit in the last few weeks, but yeah, it wasn't even close. All the hype about the Gamblers winning the last two over the Stallions. I don't know if the Stallions took it personal or if they're just on a mission again this year. But yeah, once they put the hit the gas, it was over from there.
Yeah, and it took a while, like you said, for the Stallions to get their offense going, and it was right at the end of the first half where they were able to take the lead 10-9, and it looked like it was going to be a low scoring affair, but no, Stallions came out and they kicked ass. They looked like Magoo doing Magoo things. He's just he's a video game. Sometimes it's like, all right, you have this lead, let's go ahead and bring it back a little bit because he's not 100%. He can't be 100% with those ribs. But it's like, why not take him out of the game a little bit, earlier if the game is won? But these guys, it's hard to take them out. But yeah, the game was over. Start of the second half, the Stallions, took control and they didn't take their foot off the gas. So yeah, with the Gamblers, they had that magic, for a couple of weeks, but they reminded me of the Maulers offense. If they don't score early and fast, you don't know what you're going to get for the rest of the game. Yeah, they put up a game or two where they scored over 30 plus, but they just remind me of that Maulers offense. They're always trying to fight for scores and things like that. I mean, Volga was 5 for 5. So yeah, they had opportunities, but they couldn't cash in and score touchdowns. So yeah, it's great to go 5-5, but you also had enough opportunity down the field to get in that position where you can actually score touchdowns, and they didn't cash in. So
yeah, I mean, they were driving. They were able to make some drives together, but the Stallions ended up just grinding them to a halt. Gotta give it credit to Yarbury and the rest of the D line. They got pressure. Like, weren't the Stallions at least going into the game like the team with the fewest sacks in the league? Then I'll just come out and just dominate the Houston O line. When that happens, like, Kenji is a great runner. He can move. He's dual threat, but he doesn't have that arm to be able to make the throws on the run that he needs to do it then. And yeah, especially when they hit the short field, get inside the red zone, they were toast, and they had to settle for 3, and cannot do that, especially against the Stallions when Magoo's on fire.
No, absolutely not even close. You have to always be pressing. If you have to strike at every opportunity, because exactly what's going to happen is Skip's going to call the game the way he needs to adjust, and they're going to play lights out on defense. And yeah, hats off to the Stallions defense to go ahead and just, if you give up 3, you're doing something great. It's not that you never want to go ahead and give up any points, but at the same token, it's like, you're only giving up 3 points. You did your job. It's either no points or a field goal, and they did it for those 5 drives. And I had gone on the USFL Network Facebook page, and I'm like, all right, so it's 5 for 5, but at the same time, you had these opportunities, and you still have the Stallions on the other side. You know what I mean? They're not going to go away this whole game. They have the 10-9 lead going into the second half, and it's like, okay, it's only going to be a matter of time when the Stallions take over, and that's exactly what they did. Mike, what do you got?
So first of all, this is another game where one play tends to stand out in my eyes, and it's Kenji Bahar going right, and he slipped. And the ball, I don't know how it slipped or popped out, but it popped out right into the waiting hands of the defender, and the defender took it to the house. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, it's over.
Yeah, that was the defining moment of that game right there. That was just a nail in the coffin. This shit is over. It's done. Yeah. I mean, what else more can you say with that game?
The other thing to me that kind of stands out is Houston. What are you doing? Okay, you get the ball, you're going vertical, and then you cut back to try to come back because your lane got cut off. What are you doing? Just try to get around the corner and go up the field. And if it gets cut off that direction, that's fine. But when you cut back, you're losing yardage that you've already picked up. See, it's like watching Troy Williams when he has to take off because the pocket collapses. You're running for too many yards. You're running for like 20 yards to get 3 yards. And it's crazy the way some of the guys just do it. Alex Magoo, he's not my favorite by any means, but respect. He's, in my eyes, probably the Michael Vick of the USFL. And wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being, Turpin for this year and gets a contract after the season. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely potential.
Yeah, I think if he played a full season last year and it wasn't Jamar Smith, we could have seen Magoo in the NFL or, get an invite this offseason. But yeah, I think this is his call once again to get that, that next opportunity, MVP caliber type season. I think he's going to go ahead and take the MVP for this year as well. So who knows what part of the 32 is going to call his name, but I see him not returning in season 3, and either him going to the NFL or elsewhere. I'm not sure, but of course I don't want to speculate, but for him not to get an opportunity come, next season in the NFL doesn't make any sense for, some team out there to pick him up. It makes all the sense in the world for somebody to pick him up because he's proven and shown what he can do with his legs, with his arm, his back against the wall. He's that guy. So we'll have to see what happens come, the off season because these guys will get picked up pretty quick, so. All right, moving along. This is the last game of the 4. It was the Stars, it was the best game of the week, in my opinion, as far as, you had offense, you had defensive collapses. Like, I was like, there's no friggin' way that the Stars are going to go ahead and make this comeback. And they were down 7 in the fourth quarter with plenty of time left. I think there was 7-8 minutes around there left in this game. And they had a legit shot. And it was just incredible. I mean, the final was 37-33. But it was all New Jersey in the first half, in the third quarter. I thought this was a runaway for them, and they absolutely collapsed. What did you guys see? What happened?
Well, to start the game, like you said, the first 3 quarters were, New Jersey basically doing, for the most part, I mean, it was back and forth the first quarter or so, but then New Jersey really took over from there. I was loving it. Rooting interest, I needed New Jersey to at least get one game. So, why not this game to keep us alive? But yeah, then fourth quarter hit, and it felt like a Panthers game from last year where it's just like, no. Their collapse was epic. I mean, Case and the Stars offense, they can score. They can score quickly, and they did. And I don't know what was up with Riley and the calling in the fourth quarter, but tried to do too much, too little, and came away with having to keep giving the ball back to the Stars, and that was recipe for disaster. But thankfully, for them, for New Jersey, and for the Panthers, hope to make the playoffs, that they end up having to fall short, take the field goal, went for the 4th and 12, which was always a long shot, but from start to finish, it was kind of what you were expecting for the most part, at least until they took the 3-score lead, and that was not unexpected.
Yeah, I mean, for the first 3 quarters, and it's like, all right, New Jersey had this in the bag. It looks like New Jersey of last season. And it was mentioned on television too. Like, all right, this is the offense that was put together last season, and out of nowhere come the Stars. And it's like, holy shit, they were actually going to come back, and it was just absolutely insane to see. And I guess you can never count out Case Cookus and the Stars, but you know, the Generals, they did a great job of, you know, subduing, you know, Coleman throughout this game. That, you know, it talked about on TV too, you know, either, you know, they were just giving him fits, but I don't know. It reminded me of like an NFL game where I'll throw out the Patriots, you know, because me being in Boston, it's just it's the team that I root for. So, you know, they would get a lead, and on defense, they would just play relaxed football and just hope to, you know, hold that lead. And they didn't give enough credit to the Stars in their offense to go ahead and come back. And they almost blew their opportunity, their chance in week 10, which I'm glad they didn't, because week 10 is just shaping up to be absolutely phenomenal. You know, for any fan of football, whether you like the fact that it's a, you know, a division where it's, you know, there's more than one team with a losing record going into the playoffs. You know, we saw it with the XFL, and look what happened. You know, they won it all. But it's exciting football regardless. Mike, what do you got?
I didn't get a chance to watch most of the game. I probably saw the first quarter. But you could definitely tell just based off of the one quarter. You know, it starts out again, big moment in my opinion from what I saw in this game. The opening kickoff return, that was insane. And then coming off of that, Philadelphia just methodically goes down the field, boom, 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 boom. And it really tells the difference of their kind of way that they play. And I think coming out of the first quarter, it was like, what, 10-7 or something?
Yeah, it was close in the beginning, and on the early on, it was really close for both sides. We thought it was going to be a great game, you know, but then things just happen.
And thought it was going to be a great game. It comes up without, then it becomes a great game.
Yeah, New Jersey goes up big, and it's like, all right, this one's over. Nope, not even close. That's why I gotta love it.
Based on the way that the game went, I kind of see why Victor was Player of the Week, but I still don't agree with it. As much as I don't like Birmingham, Alex Magoo should have been Player of the Week.
See, we see it all the time. Anytime there's a stallion, you know, like being voted upon, the stallion fans are so hectic, and so they have such a presence on social media. It's almost impossible. And I was surprised that Vic got this, you know, this award for week 9, because, like I said, anytime there's a stallion, they just bombard Twitter with their votes. You know, they have the most presence online. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever the case may be, it's stallions. They love their stallions. And, you know, they show up, they show out each and every week, whether it's, you know, in person, on social media. So it's always hard to you know, see a true vote, even if the stats don't, you know, stack up. It's always going to be a stallion like right there. So that kind of sucks for other guys, you know. But I mean, you know, Ginda did win it the 3 weeks this season, so that was good to see. But it's always, you know, a tough scenario when you have a stallion, you know, on that ballot.
We've seen more from that with Panthers this year, though, too, with them being in Detroit. That's kind of reinvigorated the Panthers fan base. And I think the last time that Love won the Offensive Player of the Week against his performance against the Generals, it wasn't a bad performance. It was definitely nice to see him make that rebound from the past 4, games at playing in Ford Field. But it wasn't statistically the best, and I honestly don't know if he truly deserved that award. But Panthers fans have definitely come out on Twitter as well and have made that definitely more of a Panthers and Stallions thing this year. Yeah, where it's a little bit unfair. And I know Tizino and Ginda shared Defensive Player of the Week the one week. Though they were both, in my opinion, that one, I think Ginda was very much just as deserving as Tizino, but I think, I don't know if it would have been that close. It wouldn't have been co-Defensive Player of the Week if it hadn't been, for the Panthers president. So yeah, it's a little skewed, but as far as Vito's winning that, he was a bowling ball. He literally was a bowling ball. He got the tough yardage. He would not go down. Yeah, he didn't fly off the stat sheets, but that's another problem with just looking at the stats. It doesn't tell the whole story. He scored 3 touchdowns, very much needed. He was able to, again, keep getting getting the first downs that they needed to help control the game and got them to that 3-score lead. So, hard to really knock him, and say that he doesn't deserve it. But I mean, Magoo was another very much deserving, but makes perfect sense why Vito won.
Yeah, and it was his first one in 2 seasons, which is mind-boggling.
Which is surprising.
Yeah.
Did not realize it until they tweeted it.
No, not at all. And, I don't know what week it was where he had fumbled 3 times. I thought that they were in trouble. Like, I thought the Generals were, if Vito had not, put it together and kept it together, I don't know where the Generals would be right now. But I was nervous for the Generals because, Vito fumbling 3 times in a game, I'm like, holy shit, this is a problem right now. But, he put it together. And, if you don't watch the game and you just go by stats, it doesn't do its justice. A lot of people do that. They don't watch the game. They just see the stats and the stat line. It's like, no, like Vito, he was, of course, deserving with Magoo and Vito, but you have to watch the work that Vito put in to appreciate that award that he, I think he deserved it, congratulate him on Twitter and things like that. And shot him a text, but it's still crazy that in 2 seasons, Vito is just getting that award now. But I'm glad.
And even crazier when you take that into consideration that he was the offensive player of the year last year.
Yeah, like, holy shit, are you kidding me right now? But yeah, I'm glad they let us know because I had no idea. Mike, what do you got to finish it off?
I mean, as far as looking back or any of players of the week and everything, I think it was a really good week. We had some surprises, whether it was Pittsburgh not being able to score but 1 touchdown, or Michigan's performance not really being a surprise. Birmingham winning the way they did not being a surprise. And I mean, yeah, definitely Vito definitely deserves the player of the week, and it is a shocker that he's only 1-1 for sure. So I pretty much agree with you guys across the board.
All right, so week 10 for the North, win and in. So we have the Maulers and Generals, 1 o'clock on Saturday. Let's go ahead and pick them. What do you got? Jake, let's start with you.
Should I go for what I want or do I expect to win? Honestly, though, I think actually both. I still think New Jersey, just like how the Maulers match up really well against the Panthers, as we saw this year, I think Generals get to do it again. It's probably going to be another relatively low-scoring game, but with how shaky the Maulers' offense is and the fact that the Generals can run the ball, I give them that. I think maybe it's another 13-7, 17-10 type deal.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Maulers, but the only reason why, and it's because I just want to see them succeed, of course. If they can go ahead and score early, then they have a shot. If they don't, New Jersey has the offense to pick it up and, take the lead late or whatever the case may be. They can score on any drive. It just, with the Maulers, it just seems like they're the offense of 2022. It's like you see the 4 or 5, same different offensive plays and they just get stale. And it's like, I think even Ginda was mic'd up at one point too. And he's like, I don't know if it was the Maulers or who it was, but there was somebody had mentioned, I may be going off base here, but somebody had mentioned we're going to make you one-dimensional. And that's what I see with the Maulers. If they're not able to spread the ball around and score early, they're going to become one-dimensional, and the Generals will, get the job done. But I'm going to go with the Maulers just because, I hope that defense can, because of all the work that they put in, I hope to see that the Maulers can advance, be one of those teams. Mike, what do you got? Who do you got?
this game would definitely be interesting. It'll definitely be close, I feel like. I'm going to go 23-19 the Pittsburgh Maulers. I think that, the defense looked really good last week and really strong. The biggest threat could be DJ for New Jersey, but I really think it's going to be Vito. So if they can stop the run game, they should be really good as far as their chances to win. Troy's got to come out and keep doing what he's been doing and represent. Henny's got to come back after his little injury incident and make a statement, look good. And the last time we saw these two teams play each other, it just looked horrendous. I was there for it. And it got to the point I'm like, do I want to stay the whole game or should I just go home? And some of that in my defense is it is like a 2-hour trip back home. Yeah. So, but I'm expecting and hoping for a good game. And yeah, I just think it's going to be close and it'll be interesting with this one.
All right. Let's go to the next one. It is Generals and Gamblers. Mike, who are you picking? Generals or Gamblers? Week 10.
That's a north-south matchup that doesn't exist this week.
Wait, hold on. Am I? I am looking at the. Am I looking at the right one? Oh, I skipped the. Oh my God, I skipped the Stallions and Showboats. But it's not north. It's just we're just going down the list. For week
no, I know, but saying that wasn't. Like the divisions are playing each other this weekend, so when you did the interdivision, I'm like, oh, that's not happening this week.
I don't know about you guys, but like I said earlier, I think this one is hard to even just pick, because it relies on Birmingham's clinched, so do they start their starters or not? If they don't start their starters, I think the Showboats get a win. If they do start their starters, it depends on how long the starters are in. If they're in the whole game, Memphis has no shot. Pack up them bags. We'll see you next year, Memphis. But I think that Skip is going to be smart about this. He's going to rest his guys. That's the approach I'm going to take. I'm going to say Memphis does get the win. It is going to be close. It'll be something last second. I'm going to say it's 28-27, Memphis.
All right. I'll take it really quick. I'll be brief. I think the Cinderella story for the Memphis Showboats are over. They won their 5 straight, and they're back to being the Memphis Showboats of early on in the season. I think even if your scenario is put into place where the Stallions don't play their starters, and they get a couple of guys, or if they have their second string, whatever they come in, they're still going to beat the Showboats. I don't see them taking the Stallions in any which way. So I got the Showboats taking this one. The Stallions taking this one. Story's over for the Showboats. What do you got, Jake?
Oh, this is an interesting one because there's a interesting situation. Obviously, the Showboats aren't technically eliminated from playoffs, but realistically they are. I think they have to outscore the Breakers by 63? Is it Breakers or Gamblers by 63? So I think they come out, and I think maybe just off of that willpower, that sheer attempt to win the game, they can beat the Stallions, especially if Holtz sits his guys. And it could even be a blowout with the Showboats actually doing, what they need to. But ultimately, they're going to end up staying home for the postseason. But let's go just to make it interesting. Boats by 20. Just to make it interesting. It ain't going to happen, but let's just make it interesting.
All right.
Make you think that maybe there's a chance. But no. Yeah, but ultimately, I think the Stallions win. But my hope is that at least this Boats can make it interesting. They can get their last win.
So basically, for them to get in, then would New Orleans have to lose by like 50, or does the 20 alone secure them not getting in no matter what?
Well, no, like Luke Miller tweeted, his realistic scenario, or as realistic as you can possibly get it, it was like Breakers lose by 27 and Showboats win by 40. That kind of ludicrous to be able to make it that make up the 63 points. But yeah, no, because of the point spread, the total point differential, these boats are down by 63, so they or 62 around there. They have to catch up by over 60 to then make the playoffs. So technically, theoretically or technically, they're not eliminated from the playoffs, but realistically, yeah, they're toast. They're done. Their Cinderella story is over. Their 5-week run, they really, really, really needed the win last week and this past week, and it did not happen. And even more so, they lost by quite a bit, by 28. That really put this week out of reach. Besides the fact that they were playing the Stallions, so they're not going to have that blowout win anyway. But it's even more far fetched.
I also think if Memphis went to Cole Kelly early on in the season and not Brady White, and continued to give him opportunities just because he's a Memphis guy, they could have, got this team gelling more sooner than what they did. And I think they would have had a better shot down the line. Yes, they did win 5 straight, but again, I think it's just some Cinderella story for them. But I think if Brady White, because Brady White was never the answer, I never saw Brady White as the top guy. But yeah, I think if Cole Kelly had come in sooner, it wouldn't be this scenario. I think Memphis could have, had a better record moving forward and just as better as a team. That's where I stood with the whole Brady White thing. Yeah, I understood, he never lost in that stadium, but this is a whole different beast when it comes to the USFL. This isn't college football anymore. So yeah, he just never was the answer for me. All right, we got 2 more. Breakers, Gamblers. Jake, what do you got?
Well, this is another play-in for them. If I know.
Yeah.
Or Breakers win, then they're in, and then I think Gamblers need. Do they need a loss for the?
They need to win
for the Stallions. Not quite sure what the.
I'm so like.
Well, they need to win, and then
North,
the Breakers to lose, and then Breakers just need to win, right? I think that's the scenario.
Yeah, because they are.
What was it? Breakers?
6-3. Gamblers are 5.
And they just need to win.
Yeah, they just need to win. They'd be in with just a W. But the Gamblers have to win. Stallions have to lose. Things like that. So there's so many, so much help that's needed. I enjoy those, but at the same time, it's like if you win, you're in type situation when it comes to the North. That's why it's so intriguing. But all right, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, off track. I think the Breakers win. I think it's going to be another repeat of South playoffs last year. I think the result's going to be the same thing, but that's next weekend. That's to be seen. But Breakers win. Gamblers, they lost the Panthers Gambler inverse. That rule went bust last week. They no longer are tied to the hip to the Panthers like that. So that magic is over. Going to go with Breakers 24, Gamblers 17. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I think the Breakers do enough to keep scoring, and their defense does enough to hold Kenji.
All right, Mike, what do you got?
Well, I actually like Kenji Bahar, and I actually like Mark Thompson.
I love them as players.
And I think Houston has something good going on. It's either they need Memphis to lose and them win, or they need to win and Birmingham loses. It's one of the two. That being said, it's basically a win and in scenario for New Orleans. Do they look at Houston as just another bump in the road, or do they take them seriously? is going to be the question. Because if they don't take them seriously, New Orleans could slip up here. I guess maybe I'm in a Cinderella mood today, so I'm going to go with the Gamblers on this one. I do think either way, Jake is still right. It is going to be close either way. Doesn't matter who wins. But, it's a 3-team race for that 2 spot, technically.
Mm-hmm.
Really.
Yeah,
It's
if you
really,
want to get mathematical, yeah, but all right.
but yeah, so Gamblers, I'm going to say 39 to 35.
All right. We're going to cap it off with Jake's team. We got the Panthers and the Stars. Jake, I'm going to give it to you. What do you got, man?
Yep. Sorry, I was annoyed that I don't know the exact playoff scenario for the South, so I was trying to scrub through Luke's Twitter, see if I could find it, but I'm not finding it. For the Panthers and Stars, can they repeat the magic again like they did week 2, or are they going to continue the Ford Field curse that seems to be plaguing them this year?
Crazy.
Oh, that's a tough one. Kind of like how the Maulers are an absolute matchup nightmare for the Panthers. I think the Stars are probably one of the better matchups but I think that too is going to come into play to see how healthy he is this week, if he's ready to go or not. I know he was doubtful last week, not just out. So it seems like he is at least in some. Last week he was in some form to be able to at least participate. It seemed like, so maybe he recovers enough that he actually gets activated and can play. And I think he will be able to, use his words, kill him again if he's healthy enough to go. Love's going to have to play better than he has the last couple weeks. He's going to have to not have another 4 turnover game like he did this past weekend. But I don't think the Stars defense is quite that good to capitalize on that. I mean, I know that the weather was crap on week 2, but still so many dropped opportunities for the Stars defense. They let to go to waste. I don't think they capitalized like they could. I think it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be an enjoyable game for me. But just being hopeful that we have a completely different matchup for the playoffs this year versus last year. I'm going to say 17-14 Panthers.
All right. So they're going to break the curse.
Yeah, it's the last game of the year. It's got it. It's a night game. I'm dreading having to drive home, get home at midnight after a loss on a Sunday night. So I'm using my bias and I'm using my hope and willing them to win. Yes.
All right. Mike, what do you got?
I can't believe you made me have to do this. All right. So usually when I do this, the opposite happens. So I'm going to go with the Panthers to win. I do think you're right. Most of the time it's going to be close. And that just seems to be how the Panthers play. I think we see them completely flip the script, as we kept saying. I think we kept saying they were basically like the Maulers. They need to get ahead early and stay ahead because they're not very good with catch-up ball. I think they flip that script. I think basically they come in, they're like, you know what? Lay it all out there. Flip every script that we have. And they win this thing. The defense finally shows up, and it goes off. Ginda gets like 2 picks. Braylon Speaks coming off the edge. She's going to end up with like 6 sacks. And Panthers is going to show some domination in this. I'm going to say the Panthers win 32-15. And it's all Aguilar kicks.
All right. I mean, the way you're spelling it out, it looks like Madden on rookie type numbers, but hey, you can only hope. But I also have the Panthers winning as well, 30-10, and I just think that the Panthers, of course they win and they're in, but I think they're going to dominate Case Cookus. They may even knock him out of this game early, but they're going to pressure him because he's definitely hurting. If we watched week 9, he was clenching those ribs. He's not going to be 100%, and he's not Alex Magoo. Magoo can run, but Case Cookus, yes, he can, but he's not Magoo. So I think they're going to knock him out of this game early. They're going to have to run the ball, and the Stars, they're not a running football team, as we all know. So I think the Michigan Panthers dominate this one. They break the curse. They win at home, and they're in the playoffs.
The 40th year anniversary from the 1983 championship year, game needs to happen. But yeah, I largely agree. I mean, Case, you saw him; he was running, but I think the Panthers' defense is faster than New Jersey's. They swarm to the ball a little bit better, and I don't think Case is going to be able to gash the Panthers as much as he was able to with New Jersey on Sunday. And our D line is just too good. Bell is playing. He's an absolute unit, dude. Coming as a rookie, starting so quickly and being able to make the impact that he has. He's got like 2.5 sacks on the year already, coming in mid-season. And then of course you got Speaks, the sack leader in the league. I know what you're trying to do, Mike, with the whole 6 sacks, 2 picks, trying to do the reverse psychology, but I could definitely get at least 1 sack or 1 pick, and Breland get about 3, so half that, and that's all I think the Panthers will need to be able to eke one out. But I don't think it's gonna be domination. I would love it for it to be domination. It would be well worth the pain and suffering for the 4 straight weeks that I had to deal with at Ford Field earlier this year. So I'm hoping for that. I'm hoping that your outcome there is accurate, but I still I do think we can pull one out.
Yeah, Jake, you're gonna be at the game? Are you gonna be on sidelines as well?
I'm not going to be down on, because I'm not going to be by myself, so I won't, not going to abandon the people that I'm with to be on the field. But plus, you have to be neutral, and there's no way I'm not going to be head to toe Panthers gear. So
Yeah.
I'll be in the stands. I'll be on the 50.
Yeah, you did a lot better than I did last year at the championship. I took my wife with me with the network, but I left her in the stands in the luxury suite at least. I paid for the extra ticket for myself because I didn't know exactly, getting in and things like that. But I left my wife in the stands. She enjoyed it, but better man than I am. I would have, left my wife up in the seats and got her a couple of drinks. She would have had a good time. But yeah, the whole get up. I know you're a Michigan Panthers guy, so I don't see you not wearing Michigan Panthers merchandise from head to toe. So.
Yeah,
I
no,
wasn't sure
exactly.
if you were gonna stay neutral.
That's a hard no. I can't do that. Championship game, if the Panthers aren't in it, that might be a little easier to be like, hey, grab the credentials. But no, for this game, especially with it on the line, nope, sideline, or not on the sideline, but on the 50 in the stands.
Bring a sign, hold up something. All right. This was the Week 9 recap with the USFL community. I want to thank Mike and Jake for joining me. Appreciate you guys coming on. This was fun. Longer than expected, but I appreciate you guys hanging out with me until about 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But yeah, we'll keep in touch, and hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah, we would love it. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Guys, take care. USFL community, we are out. See you next week.